My name is Heather, and this is episode 37 of the Canton Cover-Up Commonwealth versus Karen Reed. We also cover Turtle Boy and Canton 9 on this case if anything ever happens with them, but we'll cover it if it does. They've just been handed papers and not really, I don't know if they were arraigned or what, but I don't know um, what's going on with that. Anyways, so we are here to discuss Higgins' testimony. Brian Higgins is the ATF agent who was in the home of 34 Fairview Road on January 29th, 2002, the 28th through the 29th. Really, they arrived, Karen and John arrived at the home a little after 12:20, and Karen waited about 10 minutes or so and waited for John to either let her know that it was okay for them to come in or let her know, like, hey, it's okay, I'll get a ride or whatever he was going to do. Um, she was waiting for a response from him and she never received it. She got frustrated and drove off. Meanwhile, John's Apple Watch data shows us that he went up 3 flights of stairs. Unless Karen's car has stairs, I don't think that he did that in her car. I'm pretty sure he went into the house, and from there, I'm pretty sure things evolved into a physical altercation. The dog may have got involved, and then John hit his head and passed out. Is what I think is what happened. That's speculation. That's based on the evidence and all the time and effort and conversations that I've had about this case. But anyways, so we are here to discuss Brian Higgins, the ATF agent who, like I said, was there. He was a friend of John O'Keefe's. Friend, and I say that loosely. We're going to find out a lot about him in this episode. We're going to find a lot out about Karen and her relationship with John in this episode. So hang tight. It might be a little bit of a long one, but I feel like a lot of the things that we're going to cover are really interesting. So let's start with this first clip. I like to give all my clips a little title, just kind of for fun and also so I keep track of them. So this is going to be Who, If Anyone? And if you know Adam Lally, the wonderful prosecutor in this case, he asks pretty much every question with a who, if anyone, or what, if anything, or something along those lines. So that's kind of how he asks, sort of, how he asks every question, sort of, because he also throws in the words sort of a lot too, sort of. So I'm not going to do that, but let's begin. All right, so Brian Higgins, this is Who, If Anyone. This is on direct, and here we go. Shrink
And
myself.
you drive over the home, and you mentioned that you beat Mr. Albert there. Is that correct?
I did.
And so, with regard to the home, when you get there, what did you do when you got there?
Well, I was kind of being a smartass, and I dropped the plow, and I did a little sweep of the driveway, and then I got out of the driveway because I didn't want to get blocked in, and I parked.
And do you recall where you parked in relation to the house?
I do, by the mailbox.
Your Honor, with court's permission, if I could publish what's been marked as Exhibit 72.
Okay.
And Mr. Higgins,
I've seen a bajillion pictures of this house, but
Mr. Higgins, with that.
he's going to testify that he parked right here by the mailbox and he left. Like, why wouldn't his lights show him John lying in the snow? Why wouldn't he have seen that? Is my biggest question. This whole thing about the Jeep, nobody knew, and nobody said anything about a Jeep up until this trial, up until the trial, with the Jeep being on the street. Everything in the documents, the paperwork before has all been Karen was the first one to arrive. Then, so Karen arrives. Then behind her is Ryan Nagel, and there's a few feet in between them. And then Ryan Nagel takes off, and then Karen takes off, according to what we've heard. There was no car in between. Now, a couple of the McAlberts, as we call them, the McCabe's and the Alberts, who have teamed up to become the super villain team, the McAlberts. Um, they their problem is they've been testifying that Brian Higgins' Jeep has been on this area right there on the street, which is a huge red flag to all the testimony and things that we've heard so far. And it totally negates the there were three people who were in Ryan Nagel's car. They all testified. No one said that there was a car in front of them. All of them said that they had a clear view of the SUV in front of them. One of them even said that she saw a man and a woman in the car. So we have kind of some sort of identification. She couldn't identify necessarily that it was John, but in that car, she saw a man when they were turning onto the street. So we're gonna continue on with his testimony. This clip is a little bit longer, but I just wanted to kind of go over that. So this Jeep, I think, is what they're trying to do is say you didn't have a clear view of Karen's car, so you don't know if her tail light was cracked because Brian Higgins' Jeep was parked right there, so you don't know. And they might even say that that is potentially where the the taillight shattered, but none of the taillight was found there. It was found over by the flagpole. So I don't know. I don't know what their angle is with this whole Brian Higgins disappearing Jeep, but we'll see. Maybe Lolly will pull it together in the end, but I doubt it. All right, so let's go. I'll try not to talk so much, but I have so much to say about this case, but I'll try not to talk so much.
Laser pointer now in hand, if you could direct your attention to, if you see it in this photograph, where you parked your Jeep at.
All
It's
right,
right
yeah, he
there.
parked here, blah, blah, blah.
There, or who, if anyone, is coming in with you.
So I might have been there. Well, it was about the same time that Brian and Nicole showed up. I don't know if they entered before me or I entered after them. I entered the house. What I recollect is that Brian Albert Jr. is sitting kind of at the island or in the island area, and I believe he was flanked by at least one female, possibly two, one on each side.
And either of those,
Flanked. You can tell he's a federal agent. They were flanked on either side. He had a girl. Sorry, I probably butchered the Boston accent.
females, did you know them? Did you
I love
recognize
it.
them? Did you know who they
I
were?
may have recognized one I've seen before, but I didn't know them.
And just lastly, before we go back into the house, when you park, when you do the sort of plowing in the driveway and then parking, did you see Mr. Albert arrive at the house around that time?
When I parked the Jeep?
Yes.
Well, yes. So I made the sweep, and as I could see the vehicle coming up, I made the sweep, got out of the way so he could park.
So we had parked in the driveway around the time that you're parking on the street.
Yes.
And so when you come to the house and you see the people that you've described, where were they situated within the house?
So I came through what I would call like a breezeway door. So there's a front door to the residence. There's the garages, and in between there is a like a breezeway door. I came in through there, and it's kind of like you're in the kitchen. I think there's like an island, so to speak. You may be able to sit at it, and Brian Albert Jr. was right there, and again flanked by one, if not two, females.
Okay, so now we know who was in the house. Brian and Nicole Albert, this senior Brian Albert, arrives home with his wife just shortly after Brian Higgins. He first arrives, he does the sweep of the garage, the driveway with his plow on his truck because it was a light dusting of snow. Although we saw video and there was like barely any snow on the ground, but whatever. So he said he was playing around. That's why I don't know. I don't get it. So he says that he did that and then he parked in the street right by the mailbox. And that's his recollection or, recanting or retelling of the story, not recanting. All right, so that's it for that clip. Let's move on to this next clip. I'm going to call the 12:22 a.m. text. 53.
The windows facing the front of the house.
So I would have had my back to that area, my back to the door that I came in.
And specifically with reference to Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed, at any point in time did you see either of them inside the house or outside of the house or around the house or anywhere around 34 Fairview Road?
Absolutely not, no.
And at any point in time over the course of the evening, what, if any, communication or text or anything did you send to either of those two people while you were at the house on Fairview?
While I was at the house, I think I shot a text just to John. Where are you? I think that's what it was.
And if you recall, did you ever get a response to that text?
No, there was no response.
So after you left the waterfall, when you left the
He does not say what time it is, but I believe it is 12:22 a.m. that Brian Higgins texts John O'Keefe, "Where are you?" while he is at Fairview. Let that sink in. So he's texting, "Where are you?" to John, who at some point in time he's arriving right about that time. The Karen and John's car arrive a little after 12:20, and then the last of John's phone activity takes place, and then that's it. He climbs the stairs, and then we don't have. Then it goes pretty. Um, his data stops for the night until the next morning when I believe somebody put that phone there, and I think it was Carrie because Carrie's the one that testifies that she found the phone underneath him, which I don't think happened. Because why didn't the EMT see it? She says she picked it up, put it in her pocket, and then later gave it to some eh, someone in law enforcement, but she doesn't know who. So how believable is that story? Anyways, not about that, but I think this is pretty significant that he texted John, sent John a text, 12:22, where are you? And then this is going to be even more significant when we play the next clip, which I'm going to skip to now. I'm trying to just give you some of the highlights here, or most of the highlights. Wait, oh, 41, sorry. We are going to find out that Higgins and Karen had a little text message exchange thing going on. I'm going to skip the introduction of it because it's not really important. But some of the things that they talk about, what I am going to play for you, it might surprise you, might shock you, and it might even give you a little more context. For me personally, I felt like it made Karen more human to me. Like it humanized her more, seeing that, hey, she's just like the rest of us. We all have problems in our relationships. And I think she was just reaching out for help. I think this was a cry for help or a cry for something. And I, but I, anyways, let's go on. So she, out of the blue, just texts Brian Higgins. There's this football game that John invites him to, and at some point in time, Karen gets his number, and they're flirty, texty things, and she kissed him that night that he came over. It was like a peck. She even says, or they say, like when they're back and forth, that it was just a peck. But still, she kissed him, and it totally threw him off guard. And then she found his number and they're texting. So now you kind of know where we're at. So I think it shows a lot throughout their conversation. You're going to hear a lot about, like, I think her relationship with John and why this is why she reached out to him because she was having issues with John.
I said not yet with a bunch of periods, but did respond. Defendant said, "What did you say, Mr. Elusive?" I responded, "No, I just don't want
Sorry, I'll call this secret smooch, this clip.
to intrude on your."
We're gonna listen to a lot. You know what? I mean, it's kind of painful to listen to him read through all of these. I'm gonna speed him up, even though I'm already at 1.5. I'm gonna go to 1.75. So if it's too fast, I'll slow it down. But I don't think so because he's kind of a slow reader.
Couples night. Haha, I'm shy. The defendant responded, "We prefer to hang out with non-couples. Bob Gallery is probably coming too, solo. We'll probably do cards or something at some point. I'm inviting you." And I said, haha.
Now, sir, is that the Saturday night that's being referenced there? Is that the same night that you had gone over to home at some point for the Patriots game?
Yes.
And if I could direct your attention to the next page, page 21.
I went over for
Yes.
He went over to John O'Keefe's house for a Patriots game. Karen was obviously there.
You could read from that.
The defendant said, "John said Brian's being wishy-washy now," in quotes. I responded, haha, "Did you tell him you texted me?" The defendant responded, "No." And then I gave a thumbs up. Then I said, "You cranky now, question mark?" Defendant said,
First of all, where does it even come from? Like, guys like this, no offense, but he is just this hapless dope. That's how I look at him. I mean, I don't know how he was an ATF agent. I don't know how he got into the feds, but he's not very bright, especially when it comes to women. and you're gonna find that out. And this poor guy got really ridiculed so far on social media. So I don't want to totally go there with him, but like out of the blue, you just say you cranky now. Why? Because she stopped talking to you? Because she doesn't want to continue the text message conversation? Because obviously it's a new day because there's a new thread or whatever, there's a different time or there was some time in between. So why out of the blue, you cranky now? Why do you think that, buddy? Like guys like this have no clue when it comes to women.
Said, haha, no, just stop being so anti-couples. Most couples don't even like each other. I said, name a few. Defendant said, name a few. I don't know. All of them. Question mark. They all want to hang out with single people. And then I said,
Thank you. Sir, if I can direct your attention to page 26. And sir, if I could ask you to read from that page.
In blue is going to be myself again. Foul ball. Defendant responded, you stink. I said, you suck and you're double trouble. Defendant responded, you're hot. I responded, are you serious or messing with me? Defendant responded, no, I'm serious. I responded, failing is mutual. Is that bad? How long have you thought that? Defendant responded, are you okay driving? You don't want to stay here. I responded back, I'm fine. I have an office at the PD. You didn't answer the question. And then it starts to say, defendant said, rather you stay here.
And is that, to your memory, when is that text exchange taking place? In reference to the night that you went over to the O'Keefe's house.
I believe it was that night.
Now, at Mr. O'Keefe's house on that particular evening, do you recall how you came into the house?
I believe it might have been the front door.
And if you know about how long were you at Mr. O'Keefe's house that night?
I was probably one of the last people to leave, I think.
And what, if anything, happened as you were exiting from Mr. O'Keefe's house that night?
So as I was exiting the house, it was either through the breezeway or the garage. And as we were walking out, the defendant planted a kiss on me.
Now, before you went out that way, where was Mr. O'Keefe? Did you say goodbye to him or anything like that?
I think I said goodbye to him. He might have been in the bathroom. I'm not 100% positive where he was.
And when you went to leave, which exit from the house were you headed to initially?
Well, as I said, I don't remember exactly if it was the breezeway or the garage I was starting to walk through. But whichever way I started to exit, the defendant told me to go a different way.
And which way did the defendant tell you to go?
Well, her way. I honestly can't tell you which door that was. If it was either the breezeway or the garage.
And as you were going out, again, I'm sorry, what happened?
The defendant kissed me.
And how did she kiss you?
Not like a friend.
Lip to lip, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Like a romantic kiss?
That's the way I interpreted it.
And were you still inside the house at the time that this occurred, or were you outside the house if you know?
Not sure if we had just got to the outside or not. It might have. I'm not sure if it was close proximity to leaving.
And what was your reaction to that?
I was taken back.
Was that something that you were expecting?
No.
And about how long was it between when the defendant kissed you and when you left?
Well, almost immediately.
Now, sir, if I could turn your attention back to the exhibit before you on page number 27.
Yes.
Again, sir, if you could read from that page and who's speaking.
So I'm in the blue bubbles, and I said, I think you're messing with me. The defendant said, why do you think that? I responded, because this is so out of left field. Where did these feelings come from? Defendant responded, I just think you're like me. I said, meaning? Question mark. Defendant said, do you have your own kids? I said, I have no kids. How am I like you? Question mark. Hello? And defendant responded, aren't we alike? I responded, I think so. So why did you get my number and reach out to me? And I think the defendant put a question mark on that bubble, I believe. Or I might have, I don't know.
Now, that conversation as far as you asking her about why she reached out to you, how often was that question asked by you through the course of these text communications?
Well, the extent of the actual communication via text between the defendant and I was between January 12th and January 29th when John passed. On the 28th and 29th, the 28th, I sent a text, as we spoke about before when we were at the Waterfall. That text didn't respond. There was a text sent by the defendant to me the next day. So in that time period between the 12th and the 29th, there was 9 days that the defendant and I exchanged text messages. With that being said, those text messages, I don't believe, were every day, consecutive days. There was 9 days in between the 12th and the 29th.
And so as far as that questioning, as far as posing to
Between the 12th, which was the day that he came over for the Patriots game, and the 29th, which was when John was pronounced not alive anymore, they had text message exchanges of 9 of those days, and they didn't text in between. They didn't text every day. So there's that. They were only texting a few times, and
her. Why did she reach out to you? Was that something that you asked once or more than once?
Yeah, I asked it more than once, and during the pendency of this communication, I was basically trying to suss out what the intentions were of the defendant. Was the defendant interested in me? Was she at the end of her relationship with John? Was she trying to weaponize me against John and put me in the middle? There was numerous things that were going on. And that's what I was trying to vet out or suss out or whatever you want to call it. But I was having a hard time accepting what was happening.
He was having a hard time accepting that a beautiful woman reached out to him and was texting him. Okay. I mean, I have a hard time believing it too, but okay. It gets better. Let's just keep reading.
Sir, if I could direct you to the next page, page 28. And again, sir, if you could read from that page.
So I'm in the blue bubbles. Shoot straight with me. Defendant responded, I told you, I just think we're alike, right? Couple question marks. I responded, yes, agree. Now what? Defendant responded, I don't know. I said, shouldn't you know? Defendant responded, do you like me? I said, yes, from jump. Defendant said, when was jump? I said, first time I saw you. Defendant responded, when was that? I said, Hillside, for your sure.
If I could direct your attention to the next page, 29. If I could ask you to read from that, sir.
So again, I'm in the blue bubbles. Hillside for sure. When were you interested? Defendant responded, I don't know, you're just my type. I responded, you think you can handle me? I thought you were happy, question mark. Defendant responded, how do you know if I'm happy? I said, I just assumed. Defendant responded, are you hard to handle? I may have put a question mark. Then I said, what do you like about me? Defendant responded,
What kind of question is that? Are you hard to handle? Did she ask that or did he? Oh, I guess she asked that. Are you hard to handle? Yeah, are you to handle? She wrote, but I probably mean hard to handle. It's a weird question.
I just feel like you're from my neighborhood. I said, yes, yeah, ditto. Defendant responded, and I think you're hot.
And if I could direct your attention to the next page, page 30. If I could ask you to read from that, sir.
I'm in the blue bubbles again. You really think that? I have always thought that about you. Defendant responded, what? I responded that you're hot, smart, witty, but I didn't think you were interested. Defendant responded, witty? I responded, yeah, meaning quick with a response. Tell me why you got my number and reached out to me. Defendant responded, just thought we were the same / from the same neighborhood. I responded, are you afraid to say what's on your mind? What's in your mind? And then I said, on. Defendant responded, no, didn't I? No, didn't I? Question mark.
Sir, if I could turn your attention to the next page, 31, and ask you to read from that.
I'm glad I'm in the blue bubble again. I'm glad I stopped by. I should have come earlier. Do you really live in Mansfield? Defendant responded, yeah. I was basically begging you. I responded, you don't have to beg me. I meant to say beg. Defendant responded, huh? I said, I will give you what you want. How are you texting right now? And I said, leaving me hanging. Defendant responded, no. I typed kids and then kinda. Defendant responded, how am I texting? And I began to say, is everyone asleep?
As far as the communication from the defendant indicating, yeah, I was basically begging you, what did you take that to mean?
That you wanted me to come over?
And if I could turn your attention to the next page, 32. If I could ask you to read from that page as well.
So it starts off with the defendant saying, I just wide awake on my phone. Yes, they are. I said, I should have stayed, LOL. So now what? Question mark. Defendant said, yes, you should have. I responded, that would have been distracting. So now what? So no, what? And then I said, now. Defendant said, now what? Question mark. I responded, balls in your court. Defendant said, what do you want? I responded, loaded question. What do you want? Question mark. Defendant responded, I asked you, exclamation point. I in turn said, nope, you initiated this.
If I could turn your attention to the next page, 33. If I could ask you to read.
It's really cringy to listen to these. And okay, so another thing I forgot let's back up. So Brian Higgins, ATF agent, asks his friend, a friend of his that is also an ATF agent who deals in data extractions and things like that. He asked his friend for help on getting these for extracting all of these text messages, all the text messages between himself and Karen, and then himself and John. He extracted all those messages, so he says the ones that we're seeing, at least, he hand selected them for us to see, and yeah. So we don't know for sure. And he destroyed his phone afterwards. We're going to get to that in later testimony, but he also destroyed his phone. So we don't have the original data to compare and see if there was anything that wasn't turned over, or I don't know. And his conversations between Brian Albert, Higgins, we are talking about Higgins. Yeah. So anyways, All the people that he was talking to in this case, all of the communications he had with Brian Higgins, which I mean, with Brian Albert, he had plenty. So those they'll talk about as well. So let's get back to the reading here.
I said, spit it out. I'm in the blue bubbles. Defendant said, hey, we're single and we don't have kids. We can do whatever we want. I responded, don't you have a boyfriend? Question mark. Defendant responded, where are you? Question mark. I said, Canton. Defendant said, where? Question mark. I responded, my office is at the PD. Why? Why? Are you going to Mansfield? Question mark. Defendant responded, where is that? I said, Canton PD. Defendant said, I have a house there from before I reconnected W. John. I responded, oh, I feel like you're not really saying what's on your mind.
I'd like to turn your attention to the next page, 34, and ask you to read from that, sir.
Defendant starts off and says, do you like me? Question mark.
Doesn't it almost feel like they're in grade school? Like, or high school, like kids, like, do you like me? I don't know. His responses, definitely. Hers, I think she's playing coy. I think she's playing hard to get, but she showed she might have some interest. And I also think it has a lot to do with what happened in Aruba.
I responded, yes,
We'll
clearly.
get to that.
Defendant said, come over my house. I responded, when? Question mark. Defendant said, when works for you? I said, whoever, and then whenever. When works for you? Question mark. The defendant said, I asked you first. I responded, I think you're messing with me. Defendant said, I'm glad you came over tonight, with some type of face. I responded, me too, balls in your court. What do you want, Karen? You look great tonight.
I'd like to direct your attention to the next page, 35.
Isn't that weird? So, how come there's not like a space in between those? Are these manufactured? I'm so confused. So, he arrives at some point in time, but then there's not a new like timestamp to say, I'm glad you came over tonight. He says, me too, balls in your court. What do you want, Karen? That's a weird, I don't know.
Court, what do you want, Karen? You look great tonight.
I'd like to direct your attention to the next page, 35, and the last, or second to last blue bubble down the bottom, starting with Are You Glad? Do you see that?
Page 35?
Yes.
And where is it again?
Second to last blue bubble, starting with Are You Glad?
Yes. I said, I'm in the blue bubble. I said, are you glad you walked me out? Question mark.
And what did she respond?
Defendant said, yes, with like semicolon, some type of a mark there. Are you? Question mark. And I said, DEF for definitely.
And if I could direct your attention to the next page, 36. And if you could please read
Are
from
you
that.
glad
So
you
at the top, I'm in the blue bubbles. It says,
Page 36.
you? Question mark. And I
walked
said,
out with me?
you
Okay,
going home tonight or tomorrow AM?
sorry.
Defendant texted, we kissed, comma, right? Question mark. So then I put a question mark on her question and said, is this a trick question? Defendant said, I don't know when I'm going home. I'm selling my house, with what I think is a smiley face. What a trick question, and a couple of question marks. I responded, are you moving to Canton? I'm following your lead with this. Defendant responded, I live here, but I have property in Mfield. I'm guessing it's Medfield. Defendant said, why my lead? I don't want any responsibility. I responded, you started this, right? Question mark. Why did you get my number? And it says each out to me. It meant to say reach out to me. I then said, still have not told me.
And sir, if I could direct your attention to the next page, 37. And
This whole text exchange is basically Brian Higgins like wanting to know like what do you want with me? Where do I stand? Like all this insecure BS. He called it he was sussing her out. No, he was trying to feel her out, I think, to see what she wanted,
ask you to read from that.
but he didn't know how to be her.
Defendant said, sorry, should I not
He doesn't know how to woo a woman or talk to one.
have? I responded, I'm fine with it. Just don't know why you can't answer. Defendant said, you're mad at me? I said, OMG, no, not at all. You're being silly. Defendant said, I told you, exclamation point. I just think you're like me and I'm attracted to you. And then she said, a lot. I responded, feeling is mutual. I just never saw this coming. Defendant said, why? Question mark. I responded, because I just assumed you were happy with your situation. Defendant responded, I was, but things have deteriorated.
And if I could direct your attention to the next page, 38. And ask you to read from that, sir.
I said, why? Question mark. How so? Question mark. What did Melissa say when you asked for my number? Question mark. Defendant responded, it is very, very complicated. He and I dated when we were kids, and then his sister died, and everything got fucked up. I responded, he seems very into you. Defendant responded, I just told Melissa that I had your number but lost it. I said, that's cute. She wasn't suspicious? Question mark. Defendant responded, no, she's great. I responded, does she know you like me? Question mark. Defendant responded, she's a sweetie. We just agreed. You are great. With another smiley type face.
And sir, if I could direct your attention to page 40. And ask you to read from that.
Defendant said, yeah, but where is that? I have had all my shit here for a couple of years and my house has been vacant, but I'd like to get closer to the water. I responded, are you breaking up or staying together? Defendant responded, I don't know. He hooked up with another girl on vacation. I'm very close to his niece. It is a very fucked up situation. I responded, when was that and how did you find out he hooked up? Question mark. I don't want to complicate your situation. Defendant responded, we went away for New Year's, the four of us. I put the kids to bed and found him in the lobby of our hotel all over one of our friends. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I responded, it does matter.
Now, as far as that indication that she made to you, was it through text communications or in person? Did she indicate at any point in time where that occurred?
This is why, like, he barely had to ask. You know, like she was just waiting for the opportunity to be like, well, he did this to me and blah, blah, blah. Like this is kind of out of retaliation, but I think it's more out of like, hey, all these women are fawning over John. Why isn't anybody looking at me and going, you're hot? You know, like there were so many women in John's life that were all very, very interfere with everything. So I think that there was a lot of jealousy and contention between the mean moms that I've called them, the mean moms of Canton and Karen Reed, because she's just in a class up and above, you know, the people that she was the individuals that she was hanging out with, because clearly the McAlberts and Higgins have some morality issues. Anyways, that's my opinion, and I don't care if you don't like it. I mean, I hope you don't mind my opinion, but anyways, so let's move on. Keep on
So
going with us.
there was an occasion that the defendant stopped at my house. And again, the conversation that took place at my house was in relation to, again, sussing out and trying to figure out if this was everything that I stated before. Like, was this legitimate? Was she seriously interested in me? Was she at the end of her relationship with John? And during that, there was touch on that topic, and I became to realize, it was my understanding at that point that this incident took place in Aruba on New Year's Eve, based off the text messages and the conversation at my residence.
This was something that she brought up not only in the text communications with you, but in person in communication with you as well.
Yes, I mean, outside of being over there for the game, there was only one time that the defendant and I ever interacted on a one-on-one basis.
If I could direct your attention to the next page, 41, and ask you to read from that.
So I'm in the blue bubbles, and I said, did they bang? Question mark. The defendant responded, does that matter? Question mark. I said, sorry, I was just asking. I was just trying to figure shit out. Defendant responded, it doesn't really matter. I said, okay, I won't ask again. Defendant said, I don't care, with a smiley face. It doesn't matter. I responded back, okay, hear you loud and clear, Karen. Defendant responded, okay. I responded, why are you getting your thing all twisted up over simple questions? And then I typed on. Defendant responded, I'm not. I am? Question mark. I responded, you're kind of getting defensive.
So he typed thing. He typed it correctly the first time, and then he corrects himself with thong. This is the brilliance of this guy. And he just keeps badgering her. My God.
Defendant responded, not at all, with an exclamation point.
So if I could direct your attention to page 46, ask you to read from that.
Defendant is in gray. She said, we did kiss earlier, comma, no, with an exclamation point. I responded in blue bubble, I think you initiated that, no, question mark. Defendant said, yup, do I owe you an apology, question mark. I said, OMG, no, why are you being sensitive? Defendant responded, I'm not. I responded, kinda.
Why are you being sensitive? She's not. Like, how can you tell anything from these text messages and then he's being... Ugh. I don't like guys like this.
There's a P and a FFT, never, responded by the defendant. What do you want from me, question mark. I responded, what's on the table, question mark. Defendant said, what do you want ideally, question mark. I responded, the real deal. Defendant responded, it doesn't exist.
Real deal. Doesn't exist. And there's Paul O'Keefe, John O'Keefe's brother, hovering right over Karen's table.
It starts off in blue. I said, I can go to any base, but usually Hanscom and Bedford are down to the Cape. Defendant responded, which base down the Cape? Which branch? I said, Army's Army. Defendant said, I'm not abnormally sensitive. I responded, Joint Base Cape Cod. I won't be so hard on you. Defendant responded, OMG, you're not. You called me trouble. That makes me sound bad. I responded, I was just playing with you. Defendant responded, you weren't, but that's okay. I responded, stop being sensitive, please. Defendant responded, I'm not.
So in reference,
Whoops.
in that page of text communications, you made reference to a base down the Cape, is that right?
Yes.
And where is that in relation to where you live in Barnstable County?
So I can utilize one of the gates to get onto the base. I can get fuel. I can shop. I then can hit the Bourne Bridge, and I would use that as a cut through at the time when I was splitting my time between two different properties.
Is there also like a duty-free shop there?
There is, yes.
And at some point throughout the course of the text communications, did you offer to pick something up for the defendant from that shop?
I believe so.
If I could direct your attention to page 60. And ask you to read from that, sir.
Defendant said, I don't know, question mark. It's an old colonial. It has a lot of bedrooms with kind of an emoji. I responded, more than you clearly need. Are you moving to Canton, question mark. Defendant said, I know, seriously. Some rooms I only go into dusk. Not anytime soon. I'm there most of the time, but sometimes it's a lot. I responded, a lot, why, question mark. Defendant responded, I then said, do you even know what you want, question mark, or who, question mark. Defendant responded, because I went from being solo to trying to give attention to kids who aren't mine, and I never wanted kids. I responded, I thought you were in this happy relationship. Defendant responded, everyone is happy at the hillside.
If I could direct your attention.
So there is some trouble in the relationship. It may have a little bit to do with the children and some disagreements that they've had about the kids, more so disagreements that they have about raising the children, to be more accurate. And also, what was I going to say? I forget. I did something here. I got to change my settings. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know about this Higgins guy. I don't trust him. And I don't disagree. I'm not contesting that Karen reached out to him, but I think it was more so to see if she could, you know, get one of John's friends, or at least, kind of hurt him back because of the Aruba thing. That's what I was going to say, was she's upset about the Aruba thing and she needs someone to talk to. And as soon as he gives her a little bit of leeway to talk about that, then she does, about the relationship. Or she'll say things like, everyone's happy at the hillside, which I'm assuming is a bar. So when you're drinking, your problems are all gone.
To the next page, 61, and ask you to read from that.
So it starts off with the defendant. It said, everyone is happy at the hillside, exclamation point. I responded, oh God, you avoid things. Defendant responded, it's just very, very complicated dynamic with the four of us. He isn't cut out for what he's doing, and the kids present constant issues. I responded, I think he believes he is doing the right thing. Defendant responded, well, of course he is, but his heart isn't in it. It's only because he was very, very close to his sister. I responded back, I know how you feel, kinda. I was married, and when I met her, she had a 2.5-year-old. I went from being single to being a dad. It's hard. Then I said, I'm divorced since 2017 and have no kids.
If I could ask you to turn to the next page, 62, and ask you to read from that, sir.
I said, I'm divorced since 2017 and I have no kids. Defendant responded, I try very hard, but they are very spoiled, and they're not my family. My parents keep telling me I'd feel differently if they were mine or my own sisters. Then I told you he got drunk and sloppy on NYE while we were away, and that has really affected me. I responded,
That's the Aruba incident. New Year's Eve, they spent in Aruba. John was potentially pretty sloppy drunk, maybe. I don't know. That's kind of how the women portrayed it. And he might have been a little handsy with somebody there, or making out. I don't know, kissing, whatever. Something was happening that Karen saw that she did not like. And they had some words about it.
what did he exactly do? Question mark. Defendant responded, I never got married, and now somehow I'm arguing someone about raising kids with an emoji. I responded, why don't you tell me? Question mark. Defendant responded, he was a puddle all day and then disappeared. Then I found him all over our friend's sister in the lobby of our hotel, and she's gross, which I think may actually be worse. Not sure. I responded, oh God, did they bang?
And ask you to turn to the next page, sir, page 63, if you could read from that.
I'm in the blue. I said, did they bang? Question mark. Defendant said, so I was the kids celebrating New Year's. I think it's without him, which shouldn't be my role. No, I doubt it. He was a mess. I said, was it the first time with her, or do you think there were others? Defendant responded, I don't really think there were others. I'm with him all the time. He never seems to want to go anywhere, without me. But honestly, the issues with the kids bother me more than him actually cheating. They are constant, and it feels like a lose-lose. I responded, you clearly have a lot of feelings swirling inside you. Defendant responded, yeah, it's very complicated. Sorry for the rant. I responded, or began to respond, you can vent, babe.
I'd like to turn your attention to the next page, 64.
Ew, don't call me babe. Ugh. Especially coming from him.
Ask you to read from that, sir.
Defendant said, basically, I just feel like I spread myself too thin, and sometimes it's thankless. I responded, Defendant responded, you probably felt that way too. I responded, I did at times. It was 1, not 2, thankfully. Defendant responded, want to grab a drink? Question mark. I responded, if you gave me some notice, I could have. Defendant responded, you in capital letters said you were adaptable. I responded, I am, but I have my work truck with me and not my personal. Do you get angry when you don't get your way? Defendant responded, that sounds like an excuse. I rarely get my way.
Now, as far as her invitation, is that something that occurred on one time or more than one time?
I believe it was more than one time.
And at any point in time, other than the two you've already recounted, as far as going over to Mr. O'Keefe's house for the football game or the defendant stopping by your apartment in West Roxbury, were there any other occasions you went out over the defendant's house or out with the defendant by yourself?
No, never.
And sir, if I could direct your attention to page 74. Ask you to read from that.
Defendant said, are you single? Question mark. I responded, yes. Defendant said, I don't think it's out of left field. Wasn't I already begging you to come over last Saturday? Question mark, question mark. I responded, you getting my number from Melissa and reaching out to me? Question mark. Defendant said, and on vacay and probably a few other occasions. I responded, you didn't, it should say you didn't really beg. Defendant said, I asked at least twice. How do people usually reach out to each other? Question mark, question mark. I responded, why would I have thought you had any interest in me? Question mark. Usually do it when they do live with, do it when they do live with someone. And then I said, do not do it. Defendant responded, maybe, maybe not.
Thank you, sir. If I could direct you to page 77. And ask you to read from that, sir.
I said, I could go on and on, but I do not want to pump. It should say your shit up too much. Defendant responded, thanks for saying that, but low comps at the hillside. I responded, you know how to ruin something nice. I frequent other places.
Sorry, I had to mute because I was getting annoyed with my dog. She just was not picking a spot to lay down. Anyways, I don't know what that low comps at the hillside means, but she keeps repeating it. It must be a joke or something.
The defendant responded, John has showed me about 5 times the ring video of me walking you out on Saturday, and my voice and my accent are killing me softly, with an emoji of somebody throwing up. I responded, what? The defendant responded, yeah, he has cameras everywhere, you cops, with another emoji. I responded, Jesus. Defendant said, he's like Christ. Are you guys hooking up? Question mark, question mark. And I said, OMG, great.
If I could turn your attention to the next page, 78, sir.
I responded, I don't need drama, dude. Defendant said, no, it's fine. I responded, seriously? Defendant said, I'm serious with an exclamation point. I said, you legit planted one on me. Defendant responded, I know where the cameras are anyway, duh. And then it was OMG Bruins with an emoji after that. I responded, so your slick move isn't on there? With some question marks. Defendant responded, course not. I responded, oh my God. And then I said, I almost, an emoji with somebody throwing up. Defendant responded, it was a peck anyway. I kissed Kerry and gay Jeff too. I responded, yeah, weak. I agree.
Now, as far as cameras at Mr.
So she's saying, according to these texts, if they're true, she's saying that she knew where the cameras were. So when she planted that kiss on him, she made sure that it wasn't on the cameras. For some reason, I kind of think it was just to make John angry. I don't know. Maybe to get back at it. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure she was in a state where she was like, I don't know if I want to stay or go because John gets sloppy drunk and hangs on n- gross women and and leaves me with the kids. So, she might have been in a state where she was like, do I stay or do I go? And after that moment in Aruba, whatever happened that happened, she was upset about it still. It wasn't just no big deal to her, whatever she saw. So if he was just sloppy drunk and hanging on her because he was sloppy drunk, that's she would be able to tell that versus, her being all into him or something. I don't know. Or him being into her, either way. But he did have a lot of women in his life. So, like I said, these texts might have just been Karen's way of getting attention for herself because nobody was paying attention to her. Maybe she was like, I'm sick of this.
Mr. O'Keefe's house, is that something that you were aware was there prior to that conversation with the defendant?
No, not that I recall.
If I could turn your attention to the next page, 79. And ask you to read from that, sir.
Defendant said, LOL, funny. I responded, so now he is jealous of me? Question mark. Defendant said, no, with an exclamation. I told you, he likes you a lot. I said, which makes this worse? Question mark. Defendant said, you said or did something at the bar last week, and he goes, I like Brian more and more. I responded, I think he's a good dude too. Defendant responded, yeah, he is. I responded, funny. What's your end game? What do you want from me? You will just confuse the shit out of yourself because I'm a lot of fun.
Now, sir, the he that you're referring to in those
I don't believe
communications,
that.
just for clarity.
John O'Keefe.
I'd like to direct your
Respond.
attention to page 84. And ask you to read from that page, sir.
I said, it was fun. Defendant said, I've complimented you today too, with a couple of exclamation points and then some type of emoji. I said, and kicked my nuts in. Defendant said, OMG, how? I responded, if I had more notice, I would have grabbed a drink somewhere, so I'm all set with, that's, and then I said, in quotations, that's fine, but I am not asking again. Defendant said, well, it was 7 p.m. and I'm super cool, so right now I'm asking again with some type of a, I think it's a smiley face. I responded, coming to your house would have been bad for the both of us. For starters, you wouldn't have wanted me to leave. The defendant responded, now equals not. That sounds good. I responded, that's trouble. Defendant said, why, question mark.
And if I could direct your attention to page 90.
Okay. Is this done yet?
That's sir.
9-0?
90, yes.
Almost.
The defendant said, no, I'm busting your chops. It's okay. I responded, no, you are sensitive. Nice try. You don't think if I came over for a drink, we would have gotten carried away. Defendant said, you in capital letters said you were adaptable and tons of fun. I took that as an invite for an invite. And I responded, oh, okay. Defendant responded, I'm 42. I know what happens when you invite someone over for a drink. I responded, you're the master of avoidance, so you think I would just give it up. Defendant responded, I have been.
Like, he's gonna play hard. Or play hard to get. That's the word I was looking for. Like, he's gonna play all hard to get. Like, no, you can't have this. I'm Brian Higgins. I'm so special. You can't have me. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. If Karen tried to seduce him, I'm sure he wouldn't resist. I'm not saying that she did. I'm not saying that. I don't know what her intentions were with him. Maybe she was ready to, like, see if there was someone else out there that was more like her, like she said. Anyways.
I've been a lot in my life. I have a little bit of cop DM mindset, and then said, been through.
And if I could direct you to the next page, 91, sir.
Defendant said, what am I avoiding, question mark. I'm not afraid to be direct. I responded, some of my
Right.
questions. Defendant responded, okay, which? Ask again. I said, nope, tricks are for kids. Defendant responded, I'm pretty sure we would have hooked up. I responded, okay. Defendant said, I can't say that, question mark. I said, of course you can. Defendant said, did I miss any other questions, sir, question mark. Probably. Are you having a drink right now, question.
Like, how much more direct does she have to be with this guy? Like, she's offering him intimate relations. Possibly no, I don't know, like, what her, other than that. I mean, I don't know if she had intentions to to leave John, to see Brian behind John's back, to have an affair because maybe John was having an affair. I don't know. We don't know. We can't sit here and speculate just because, especially because these were handpicked from Brian's phone, and there might be more to the situation.
Question mark. Defendant said, yeah, on my second. I said, show me what you got.
And if I could direct your attention to page 99. And ask you to read from that, sir.
Defendant said, none of that is true, exclamation point. I'm not talking to other guys, and I have issues with John, and things are far from perfect. You just happen to know about him, BC, I guess, because we all hang out at the same bar. I'm sure you talk to other girls. That's what single people do. I'm not married, neither are you, neither is John. I responded, was that your attempt at a lecture or deductive reasoning, question mark? What do you want from me, question mark? Defendant said, that's just how I think / feel. You don't need to approve. I've already answered that last question a couple times, I think. I responded, I'm not judging you, never have, never will. Defendant responded, you shouldn't. I don't know what your private life is about, nor is it my business.
It seems to me she's offering him intimate relations. Not necessarily a relationship, nothing like that. Maybe she is trying to see if she could have an affair with him. I don't know. Having an affair doesn't mean that you end up killing the person that you are in a relationship with. But, I mean, so my way of looking at these is I don't care that she was talking to another guy, especially if, there was just a situation on New Year's where John may have kissed another girl. I'm not that, like, concerned about it, and it doesn't lead directly to the motive of, running him over. She had her own place, her own money, her own way of living before John. She sacrificed so much to live in that home with them, to take care of those kids. When COVID happened, she moved in, and, well, I don't know if she moved in, but she arranged her schedule so that she could be there and homeschool those kids or not homeschool, but, be there while they did their homeschooling or remote schooling. And because John was a cop, he couldn't stay home, so she did that for him, for those kids. She sacrificed a lot for those kids. And maybe she was like just thinking, I want to be single. I don't want to deal with kids. I don't want to be fighting over kids. Like, how did my life get here? Type of thing. So let's not try to be too judgmental about her. If anything, these texts make me feel like she's a human being. We all have these feelings of wanting to be loved, wanting to be cared for, wanting to be loved by the person that we're with, and not have them being, looking at other people. You want to know that the person that you're with is with you and you alone. And I think that's kind of where she was at that point in time. But again, that's just my opinion based on these texts and what else we know.
Thank you, sir. If I can now direct you to page 102 and ask you to read from that.
Defendant said, my only, I'm assuming, point is that there's a difference between being married to someone and dating them, and we have no intention of ever getting married. The point of dating is not to get tied down. If you're not confident, you should be, in my mind anyway. The first two, but I don't care too much about the other girl. I responded, okay, so he is cool with you dating other people, question mark. Defendant responded, and I'm not happy per se, just realistic that there's cracks and it's far from perfect. I doubt it. If he's seeing someone else, I wouldn't want to know either way. He probably feels the same way, and you probably feel that way about whoever you hook up with. I think that's normal. I responded, okay. Defendant said, you don't agree with me, question mark, question mark.
If I could direct your attention to page 107. Ask you to read from that, sir.
Defendant said, at a bar, question mark. I responded, I wasn't suggesting anytime soon. I know you're with your friend. I meant my house. Probably after 8. Defendant said, probably after 8. I responded, okay, if you don't want her, that's fine, no pressure. Defendant responded, I will, a drink. It looks like I tapped the bubble with a question mark. I then said, what do you drink? Question mark. Are you out now? Question mark. Defendant responded, sorry, I'll drink whiskey if that's what you're having. I responded, haha, send me a pic of you two.
Now, you had testified earlier about some occasion prior to the 28th when the defendant had come over your house in West Roxbury, correct?
Yes.
In this case that you just read, as well as some of these successive pages after that, is that sort of arranging for that to occur after she goes out or leaves from a friend out in Boston?
I believe she was out with a friend that night in Boston, a female friend, yes.
And that evening when she came over your house, about how long was she there?
Not long.
And so what happened when she arrived, or what, if anything, did the two of you talk about?
It was kind of more of this. It was a kind of a, wasn't an interrogation. It was a face-to-face version of trying to suss out and vet, like, what is this all about? Again, I mean, I'm not proud of these text messages. It is what it is. I'll take responsibility for them. But, John was a friend at the same time, and I certainly wasn't, if they were at the end of the relationship, they were at the end of the relationship, but I wasn't going to have somebody utilize me and weaponize me against somebody that I liked. And it was just a weird experience. It was, I don't even think either one of us finished a drink. It was, like I said, it was this type of, like, what is this all about? And then she left. I think I might have asked her to text me when she got in, so I knew she got home.
Now, that evening or at any other point, in your friendship or your relationship, whatever, however you want to term it, was there any other sort of intimate contact beyond what you described occurring as she walked you out that night you were over at Mr. O'Keefe's house for the patrons?
Are you asking if she ever kissed me again?
I'm asking if there was any kissing, any sexual relationship, anything at all between yourself and the defendant.
Absolutely not. In referring to my residence when she stopped by, I was very uncomfortable, and it was just an uncomfortable situation. Just a weird vibe. That's the best I can describe it.
And lastly, sir,
Weird vibe. Because he's never been with a woman before, and he was too nervous. I don't know. Anyways, just kidding. All right, so we're gonna skip now to. Oh wait, I don't think he's done with the texts. I think there might be. Oh, you know what? That's on cross. Never mind. All right, so we're gonna let me grab this link. We're gonna go to cross now. So Alan Jackson is going to be doing the questioning, and this clip I call the waterfall.
John walked into the waterfall. Were you already there?
Yes.
He greeted you, you indicated, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Karen walked in with him.
Yes.
But she did not greet you, did she?
I think they kind of went like that in different directions.
Right.
Yes.
Did she greet you?
No.
Right. So she walked over toward the corner of the bar, and John came over and greeted you, and then walked over and joined her, correct?
Yes.
Karen didn't stop what she was doing when she was over in the corner of the bar and come over and say hi to you?
I didn't have any interaction with her that night, no.
So safe to say.
So this is the night of January 28th at the bar. They go into the waterfall. Karen is there with John and they have no interaction.
That throughout that evening, while she was sidled up next to John O'Keefe or friends that she was with, she never turned back around and came over and even acknowledged you, correct?
That's correct.
So she basically ignored you the entire evening.
That's not how I interpret it, no.
I didn't ask you how you interpreted it. I asked you what she did. Did she ignore you or did she pay attention to you?
Objection.
You can go ahead and answer that. Did she ignore you?
No.
So she paid attention to you. Came over and said hello, shook your hand, gave you a hug.
Well, just because somebody didn't come over doesn't mean they ignored you.
Did she do those three things?
Hug? What was the other
Did she
thing?
say hello, shake your hand, give you a hug?
No, she did not.
No, she didn't do any of those things, did she?
No.
It was like you didn't even exist.
I think that's dramatic. No, I don't look at it that way.
Did she ignore you or not?
No, she did not ignore me.
So what did she do to not ignore you?
She was
What's her
work-
interaction with you?
Can I answer now?
Sure.
In my opinion, she was working the room, talking to people, saying hello, catching up.
Right. The one person she didn't come over to talk to and say hello to and catch up with is you.
Well, I don't know that I was the only person, but I was one of the people that she didn't say hello to, yes.
Treated you sort of like a stranger.
I don't feel that way, no.
She actually positioned herself away from you at the other end of the table on the opposite side in the corner. Isn't that right?
I don't know where she was all night, no.
Did
I
that
don't know.
upset you that she ignored you or didn't pay attention to you?
I did not feel ignored and didn't upset me at all.
But it bothered you enough to send her a text, didn't it?
No, it was a flirtatious text. It was just, that was it.
It bothered you enough to send her a text that said, with 6 M's behind it.
Okay.
And, well, correct?
Well, it wasn't like that. It was, well, that's it.
Just, well, like a well in the ground.
I think you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think you do too, sir. You meant, well, when are you going to pay attention to me?
No, that's not correct.
Well, why are you ignoring me?
It's not correct.
Well, am I chopped liver?
Objection.
All right, that's a stand.
Exactly.
Jackson, let's move on.
That's exactly what it was.
At the end of the night, the group basically discussed going back to Brian Albert's house. Is that right?
There was discussion at the table of, like, were we going to go to the pizza shop or were we going to go somewhere else? And ultimately, it was 34 Fairview.
Before you left, just so we're clear, when you texted, well, she ignored that text too, didn't she?
Can you say that again?
When you texted her, well, at Waterfall, she ignored that text too, correct?
Well, that was the only text I sent that night to her, yes.
Okay.
She didn't respond.
That wasn't my question.
What-
My question is she ignored the text, correct?
Well, I don't know if I don't know what her mindset was. If she purposely ignored the text or she didn't see it, I don't know. I didn't read into it.
Did she ignore the text, Mr. Higgins?
I don't know.
Did she respond to the text?
She did not respond.
Got it.
Wow, just to drag out that she didn't respond, that she ignored the text. That's what happens when you don't respond. You ignore it. He couldn't even say that. So interesting. All right, so the next clip that I'm going to play for you, I'm calling it Canton, the town of butt dials. Let's get started.
I see it.
You've certainly seen that document before, correct?
I think I've seen it maybe on a screen, not in my hand.
That was these were the records that were shown to you at a prior hearing?
Yes.
And you acknowledge that at least the one marked QQ is a record of your calls, correct?
It has my name, my telephone number, correct.
And it indicates that on January 29th, 2022, at 2:22 and 35 seconds, you received a call from Brian Albert, duration of 1 second, correct?
Yes.
In other words, Brian Albert called you at 2:22 and 35 seconds, but it looks like you missed the call, correct?
I see the 1 second call, yes.
There's a second call just below that. On the same date at 2:22 and 52 seconds, from you to Brian Albert. Do you see that one?
Yes.
And the duration of that call is 22 seconds, correct?
I see that, yes.
So 17 seconds after you missed a call, according to these records, from Brian Albert, you called him back, and there was a call lasting 22 seconds. Is that right?
That's what the records say.
May I approach?
Yes.
So the fact is, you were speaking to Brian Albert in the middle of the night, approximately 3 hours before Mr. O'Keefe's body was found in his yard, correct?
No, that's not correct.
And that was 5 minutes before 2:27 a.m. when there was a Google search for how long to die in cold, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
And then, of course, you lied about that under oath in that prior proceeding by saying, I don't remember this phone call.
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you, in fact, tell the truth at the prior proceeding when you said, I don't remember that phone call?
I always tell the truth.
Did you lie under oath, sir?
No, I did not.
Would you tell us if you did?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
You acknowledge that there's a 22-second phone call in your phone records, correct?
That's what's reflected by the record.
And 22 seconds is quite an amount of time. Would you agree?
It's 22 seconds.
As a matter of fact, it's about this long, with the court's permission.
The court does not give permission. That's argument, Mr. Jackson.
That's BS, and you know it, Judge Canoni. You should have let him play or play a timer in silence and have the whole courtroom feel what 22 seconds feels like. And it's totally appropriate, and he should be able to do that.
If we were to count off 22 seconds, that's an uncomfortably long time, is it not?
No,
It's long enough to have a conversation, isn't it?
I didn't have a conversation.
Is 22 seconds long enough to have a conversation?
No.
A human being can't have a conversation in 22 seconds?
Sure they could. I don't think it's anything of substance.
Okay, so that's my question. Is it 22 seconds long enough to have a conversation?
I don't agree with it, no.
Of course he doesn't agree.
Now, when you were asked about this, and you were shown these records, that prior hearing, you had an explanation for what that 22-second call may have been, and what the prior call may have been, correct?
Yes.
What was your explanation?
Well, I used a phrase that people commonly used as a butt dial.
I want a butt dial.
So you think it's possible that you may have butt dialed Brian Albert for a 22-second call that you're not aware of?
I think it's possible that he could have been inadvertently called back, but I have no recollection of that, nor did I have any conversation with anybody.
But you admitted that you lived alone, correct, Mr. Higgins?
That's correct.
You have an iPhone at the time.
Yes.
Matter of fact, that number, reflecting those records, is in fact, or was in fact, an iPhone. Is that right?
Yes.
You already indicated under oath that you don't sleep with your iPhone. You keep it on your bedside table. Is that right?
Most often, yes.
There's nobody else in your room. Is that right?
That's correct.
And you had your ringer on because you were awakened the next morning by a call from Chief Recross, right?
Yes, the ringer was on.
When somebody calls you and you miss the call, there's a notification that shows up on that iPhone. Isn't that right?
I don't know how mine set up at the time. I don't know.
And if you open up your phone app and you go to recents, it shows all the missed calls, correct?
I think you can get to them, yes.
And you know that the iPhone does not automatically call people back. That is not a thing, right? Miss a call from someone, it's not just going to automatically re-ring them.
Yes, I think we both know that, yes.
So to call somebody back, you have to go on your iPhone, open it up from a locked position, navigate to a phone application, then navigate to a contact, and then make a call, correct?
Yes.
Sustained. You can break it down.
Sure. In order to call somebody back, if you've missed a call, you first have to unlock your iPhone.
You would have to, yes.
You can do that either through Face ID or through a 4 or 6-digit passcode, right?
Yes.
Don't tell me the code, but did you have a 4 or 6-digit passcode locking your iPhone at the time?
I don't know if it was a digit code or a Face ID.
Well, if you have a Face ID, you have to have a digit code as well, right?
Yeah.
I guess so.
Okay. Did you open your phone with your Face ID or a multi-digit code?
I have no recollection of answering the phone or calling anybody back.
You also have to navigate, once the phone is unlocked, you have to navigate to the phone app, correct?
I don't know necessarily if you unlocked it with your face, if it would be right there. I've never thought about it.
Once you unlock that phone app, you have to manipulate the phone on the screen with your finger in order to make a call, correct?
You would have to hit at least one button, I guess.
At least one, right?
Yes.
So that's 3 or 4 interactions with the phone that have to be physically undertaken to just make one call, right?
Yep.
But I didn't make any calls.
So how'd you butt dial?
I didn't make any calls. I have no recollection of any calls, nor did I speak with anybody.
So the calls between Higgins and Brian Albert are wrong. All that data is wrong. The calls between Jen McCabe calling her sister Nicole in the morning, that's wrong. Even though it says that she answered it twice, she didn't. That's the data is making things up. How crazy.
After you were shown these phone records at that prior hearing, in that hearing at least, you finally admitted that you did in fact call Brian Albert back, but this time you claimed the two of you just sort of sat in silence. Isn't that right?
Objection.
So I'm going to sustain it in that form. You can ask it appropriately, Mr. Jackson.
Did you ever previously testify that you did in fact make the call, but you did not have a conversation during the course of the call?
What I think I testified was something must have happened, but I didn't have any phone call.
Do you remember being asked, quote, did you call him back, end quote, and you answered yes? And then there was a question.
There was a series of questions there. That's only a fragment of what I said.
I'm not done yet, Mr. Higgins. Can you answer my question?
Yes.
To the question, did you call him back? Your answer was yes, correct?
I think it was kind of I must have.
Then you were asked, well, the answer was yes, and then there was a colloquy back and forth where you spoke over each other's words, right?
It was dialogue back and forth about this whole thing, yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
Read it for me.
Did you call him back?
What's the answer?
Yes.
Thank you. May I approach?
Yes.
There you go. He called him back. All right. So we are going to move on to the next clip, which is the Sally Port Swipes Part 1.
At 9:23:39, I'm sorry, have you got that in mind?
I do. I see it. It's highlighted.
At 9:23:39, that shows that you were granted access to the Sally Port, to front exit, front entry to Sally Port, correct?
Yes.
There's only one Sally Port at Canton PD, correct?
Yes, and there's a door on each side of the Sally Port. Yes.
2 bay doors, right?
2 bay doors on each side,
And
yes.
then there's a
Pass-through.
personal pass-through door as well.
Yes.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm going to try to speed this up just a bit because it's small print, reverse chronological order. on page 2976, there's also an entry, same page, should be right above that, 92350, showing that you were granted access from booking to Sallyport as well, correct?
These are all the card swipes. He needs to swipe his card in order to enter the Sallyport, which is at the Canton Police Station, where his office is. So he has an office as an ATF agent. Sometimes the federal folks get to have an office in the state organization, like the state LE or whatever. So he has an office at the Canton Police Station. The Sallyport, where Karen's car was towed to that morning, is in that Sallyport. So the fact that he is in that Sallyport multiple times for lengthy times is quite interesting.
Okay, 2976. What was the time?
Page.
Yes.
It's about maybe 6 entries above. 6 entries up. We'll look for time 9:23 and 50 seconds.
I see. Yes.
All right, and that shows that you were granted access to the Sallyport, and then from Sallyport to booking, correct?
It says booking to Sallyport, Sallyport to booking.
Okay, so that's a key swipe. You either enter into the Sallyport from booking or from booking into the Sallyport.
Yes.
Okay. Could you repeat the question? Of course, of course.
For the sirens. Whoa. Wow.
That indicates, I have no idea what the last question was. I'll see if I can make a new one up. At 9:23 and 50 seconds in the morning, you were granted access booking to Sallyport and Sallyport to booking, meaning swiped the key card in the door going from booking to Sallyport.
Yes.
Okay. I don't want to belabor this because we could get bogged down into it all day long. Would you have any quarrel if those logs indicated that you were moving in and around Canton PD at 9:28, 9:53, 9:53, 9:54, 9:54, 11:40, etc.? We can look at every one of them if you want to.
Well,
That doesn't refresh your recollection.
it would not be uncommon for me to move around Canton PD at various times or dates,
Right.
middle of the night, during the day. But just because I swiped in somewhere, and then you have a swipe at the end of the day, doesn't mean I was there the whole day. I could have left, I could have come back, and I truly don't have a recollection. But I'm pretty sure I wasn't there all day.
Fair enough. If we moved from 11:40 to 11:44, 11:45, 11:47, 11:51, 11:52, and then jump to 2:05, would that be an explanation where you might have gone out for lunch 11:52?
Could have.
Okay, come back. If
Yes.
there's a 2:05 and 56 entry, then obviously you're there, right?
If the card was swiped, I was there.
I mean, you're not giving that card to anybody else.
No, I'm not.
No way, right? Let's just look at 2905 because I want you to be comfortable. Page 2905, and let's look at that 2:05 and 56 entry.
I'm at 2905. Where would you like me to look?
About right there. Basically middle of the page. May I approach? Yes. This might be a little easier. Highlight it for you.
I see it.
Okay. So that would indicate that you were back at Canton PD at least 2:05:56, and you were granted access Sallyport to front door, correct?
That's what it says, yes.
Okay. At 3:10 p.m., you called Brian Albert's brother, Kevin Albert, correct?
I don't know. It's possible.
Okay.
I mean, I don't remember every phone call I made that day.
Understood. Do you remember talking to Kevin Albert?
I don't.
So you don't remember what you discussed with him?
No.
Do you remember that it was a 12-minute phone call?
No, I don't remember having any phone call, but I'm sure it's possible that we spoke.
Do you remember Kevin Albert providing you any information about the ongoing investigation into John O'Keefe's death?
No.
Did you ask him about additional information concerning John O'Keefe's death?
No.
Were you providing details back to Brian Albert that you were receiving while at Canton PD?
Absolutely not, no.
Do you recall?
All right, so I'm going to skip now. A little bit more of that. He's going to ask questions about talking to the Alberts, which I'm going to call this clip here.
That appears to be your phone record, correct?
Yes.
And it appears that you made a call at 3:10 for 12 minutes with Kevin Albert, correct?
Yes.
3:10 plus 12 is 3:22, correct?
Yes.
You would clear the call about 3:22, is that right?
Yes.
And then it shows a 3:24 phone call to Brian. Brian Albert then calls you at 3:24, correct?
Yes.
And you two speak for 6 minutes, is that right?
6 minutes, 5 seconds, yes.
Can I approach?
Yes.
Does that refresh your recollection that you made those calls?
Based on the record, yes.
Was that just a coincidence that you were talking to Brian Albert and Kevin Albert within minutes of one another?
I mean, there was a lot going on that day. People were upset, and I don't remember the phone calls. I don't deny making the phone calls. I just don't remember them.
Do you remember providing information that you were learning from Kevin Albert to Brian Albert?
Absolutely not.
So, as you can see, he's been talking to the family. All right, we're going to do Sallyport Swipes 2 now, part 2.
2885.
2885 and 2886. We'll start with 2886 and then work backward.
Okay.
First entry is at 3:57 and 54 seconds.
3:57 and 54 seconds. I see it.
Brian Higgins booking to Sallyport, correct?
It says Brian Higgins, communication to pedestrian Sallyport, communication to pedestrian Sallyport.
Look at the one just above it. That's 3:58:24. Look at 3:57:54. Or the one it probably is going to be just below it because it's reversed.
You said 3:57:54, correct?
Correct.
That's what I just read.
Got it. Look at 6 entries below at 3:57:36.
3:57:36.
5. Look for 4:07:47.
4:07:47.
Correct.
I have it. Access granted. Brian Higgins booking to Sallyport, booking to Sallyport.
And there's no record in that document of you exiting, correct? That's just booking to Sallyport.
Yes. I don't. Yeah, there's no record. I don't know if it records you going up. That's fine.
There's no record of it, correct?
Not that I can see here, no. I'm sorry.
And you're aware that that's about 90 minutes before Karen Reed's SUV was delivered to that Sallyport, correct?
What?
No, I'm not aware of that.
90 minutes. That is a key time frame. 90 minutes. Trooper Proctor had the car in his possession for about 90 minutes before it was handed over to the Canton PD over in their Sallyport. So if there's a chunk of time where Higgins is in there, it's very suspicious.
You're aware that her car ended up in that Sallyport where you were at 5:36.
I'm aware her car ended up there, yes.
Are you aware that there was other evidence that was also being held in the Sallyport?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you see any other evidence in the Sallyport related to this case?
No.
Did you see a bag, grocery bag with 6 solo cups there?
Objection.
Did you see anything that seemed out of the ordinary there?
All I would do is use that as a cut through. I did not see anything.
I don't buy it.
Are you aware that at 5, well, let me ask you this. You and Chief Berkowitz were moving in and through, at least in some parts of the day, in and through Canton PD together, correct?
At some points we might have been together. We weren't together all day.
Matter of fact, he was also in the Sallyport around the same time you were, correct?
I don't recall that, no.
The records would reflect that, right? The records that are in front of you?
Objection.
Sustained.
You were in the Sallyport the last time you're logged into the Sallyport. It's 4:07. Do you remember seeing Chief Berkowitz at the Sallyport at 4:14?
No, and if that says that I'm logged, that could be me cutting
So
through.
Higgins, all I'm asking you, I'm not asking what you did. I'm asking you where you were.
I don't know where I was at that specific time.
Well, you walked into the Sallyport. You know that.
If I walked in,
Correct?
cutting through, yes.
Right. Was Chief Berkowitz in the Sallyport at 4:14?
Not that I recall, no.
Was he there at 4:30?
I don't remember ever seeing him in the Sallyport, no.
Was he there at 4:33?
I don't remember ever seeing Chief Berkowitz in the Sallyport.
At 4:50?
Objection.
Sustained. Let's move through this, please.
Finally, was he there at 5:36 and 37 seconds at the same time?
Chief Berkowitz is the chief officer of the Canton PD, and he was supposed to be on sick leave, but he came to work just to investigate this case, apparently, and he was in the Canton police station also swiping into the Sallyport, maybe near the same time Brian Higgins was. I'm not exactly sure.
Karen Reed's vehicle was delivered.
I don't remember.
Do you remember Chief Berkowitz, or were you with Chief Berkowitz when he made a call to the front desk?
No, I don't remember anything like that, no.
Do you remember Chief Berkowitz calling the front desk at 5:42 and saying, shut the barracks?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you remember any kind of call shutting the barracks, meaning shutting the Sallyport?
Objection.
Do you remember that?
I don't remember anything like that, Your Honor.
Okay, next question.
All right, you get the point. We're going to move on now to best friends with Berkey. Berkey is Berkowitz. Here we go.
Police station.
It was not, no.
By the way, he is friends with Berkowitz. He's the ATF agent in the Canton PD station, and he is friends with the PD, the chief of the police department. So it's an odd pairing that they're there together in the Sallyport, especially when Berkowitz was supposed to be on sick leave.
By the time you interviewed with Trooper Proctor, you had already had numerous conversations with Brian Albert. Is that safe to say?
Well, the interview was with both Trooper Proctor, Sergeant Buchanan, and of course I've talked to Brian Albert because of what took place.
Higgins, that was a yes or no question.
Yeah, of course I've talked to him, yes.
Okay, the answer is yes, right?
Yes.
So we agree?
The answer is yes.
Thank you. By the time you spoke with Trooper Proctor and Trooper
Why is it so hard for him just to answer a gosh darn question? It's so frustrating. That's how you know these people are hiding something.
Buchanan, you had already had numerous conversations with Chief Berkowitz, correct?
Yes.
You had already had numerous conversations with Kevin Albert.
Yes.
You had already had this meeting with the Alberts and the McCabe's over at 34 Fairview. Is that right?
I went to the house.
And discussed this case, as you earlier described in your testimony.
I discussed what we were trying to figure out what
You
happened.
discussed this case, Mr. Higgins.
Well, at that point, it wasn't a case.
Okay, I'm not parsing words about what a case is versus a matter versus an issue. You understood my question, didn't you?
Yes.
Is there a reason you don't want to answer that question?
I don't have a problem.
Objection, Your Honor.
No. Is there a reason? Well, I want to answer.
Well, I feel you're trying to make it sound like something it wasn't. It
I'm
was.
not trying to make it sound like anything, sir. I'm asking a question. Had you discussed this case or the issues surrounding this case with those folks?
I did discuss things when I went back to the house. Yes.
And that was before you met with Trooper Proctor and Trooper Buchanan.
Yes, that's correct.
You had already spent an enormous amount of time at Canton PD. We've just gone through those records. Is that right?
I have been at Canton PD. Yes.
And you had been able to talk to, you had access at least to all the officers, correct?
What do you mean by? Can you
Everybody that was coming and going at Canton PD.
access for what purpose?
Just to walk by them, hear what they were saying, see what they were doing.
That's not what I was doing. No.
I'm not accusing you of doing anything. I'm saying you had access to the individuals within the Canton PD, correct?
To interact if needed. Yes.
And very obviously, you had access to the Sallyport.
And access. Yes. And that's a cut through I used all the time.
And anything that was in it, correct?
I wouldn't need anything in it.
It was only after all that that Michael Proctor thought that you were worthy of a conversation.
Objection.
I'll rephrase it. It was only after all of that that you were interviewed by Michael Proctor and Trooper Buchanan, correct?
I wasn't interviewed to the following days. That's correct.
At some point on February 4th, Chief Berkowitz called you to personally inform you that he had personally found taillight at 34 Fairview. Is that right?
What?
He did tell me that. Yes.
And to be clear,
Now, days later, Chief Berkowitz, just driving along the street, seems to find a piece of taillight. Just spotted it, just looking out the window as he was driving by. Interesting, huh?
that's the same Ken Berkowitz that you were with in the Sallyport.
I don't recall being in the Sallyport with him. No.
What did you do with that information when you learned from Chief Berkowitz that he personally saw a taillight piece as he drove by?
I didn't do anything with the information.
Did you call Brian Albert?
No. Brian Albert called me.
You were asked a specific question in the other proceeding in June of 2023, correct?
I don't know if it was the specific question. I was asked a series of questions on how the phone calls came in. That's what I was asked.
And your answer was, it's 100% probable that I told him about that, meaning I told Brian Albert about my conversation with Ken Berkowitz, correct?
It's possible.
Was that your statement or not?
It was my statement then, but I've thought about it. Yes.
And you've changed your statement somehow?
I don't know if I changed my statement, but I think the way the phone calls came in is Brian Albert told me you're not going to believe what was found on the front lawn, and then I believe Ken Berkowitz told me he found the taillight, and I'm referring to the taillight from the both of them. I didn't provide any information to anybody.
Well,
information was provided to me.
What you actually said was, it's 100% probable that I told him about that. Yes, 100%. I'm not hiding that fact. But you're asking me if I recollect specifically. I know I called him after
Objection,
that
Your Honor.
call.
All right, so too many facts. Go slowly.
Sure. You said, yes, 100%, correct?
In that testimony, I did, yes.
And then in that testimony, you went on to say, I'm not hiding that fact. But you're asking me if I recollect specifically, correct?
I don't have it in front of me. That's what you're telling me.
You went on to say, I know I called him after that phone call, correct?
I don't know.
And you went on to say, if that's when Chief Berkowitz told me, listen, I didn't do anything wrong in this, end quote. That was your statement.
Objection.
Prior hearing, correct?
So I'm going to strike the end part.
You want to man?
Yes.
You said you don't recall
Grand
that in your
jury?
testimony, right?
Not that portion, but I know I was asked about how the phone calls came in and what was said.
Do you think it would refresh your recollection to see transcript of your answer?
Is this it right here?
That's it.
I'm going to read it.
Does that refresh your recollection to what your testimony was under oath in June of 2023?
I do.
And you said,
That's not even the answer that you should be giving. Does that refresh your recollection? Yes or no? Or it does, not I do. So I don't know what that means. He's he's getting married. I don't know.
If that's what Chief Berkowitz told me, if I listen, I didn't do anything wrong in this, correct?
That was a statement I made, yes.
Why did you say, listen, I didn't do anything wrong in this?
Objection.
Why'd you say that?
Because I felt they were being accusatory, and I was trying to explain what was going on. And what I had said over that was, I believe what I said, something to the effect, I can't be 100% positive. And then when I went on to say, it's probable. But I felt like they were being accusatory, and I was trying to explain how the phone calls came in. I've had time to reflect about it after that, since that testimony. And that information about the tail light that was found was provided by each person. I didn't provide any information to anybody.
Next question. Thank you. You said, look, I didn't do anything wrong in this because it looks like you and Ken Berkowitz were colluding to provide information to Brian Albert, correct?
Objection.
Is that correct?
Absolutely not correct. That's
And
wrong.
you knew that was going to look like collusion, which is why you said, look, I didn't do anything wrong in this.
Objection.
Objection sustained.
Mr. Higgins, if you wanted to get rid of, and you've dealt with cell phones and electronic devices in your career many, many times, correct?
Over my career, yes.
You've probably even written search warrants for them, things of that nature, right?
Yes.
If you wanted to destroy evidence on your cell phone, what kind of steps might you take to do that?
Objection.
If you wanted to just get rid of information on your cell phone that would be unrecoverable, what steps might you take?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you know how to get rid of information on your cell phone?
Objection.
That's allowed. You can answer that.
Do I know how to get rid of information? I mean, I think there's different ways. You could wipe your phone.
Anything else?
You could wipe your phone.
That's all he knows. All right, we're going to skip forward a little bit to this one. This clip I call selective text.
If there was a method to get this off my phone so I could provide it to law enforcement.
And that information,
Let me go back.
Next question.
but you asked your friend to utilize his resources to teach you how to extract certain information off your phone. Is that what you did?
I asked him if it was possible to get this off, if there was a method to get this off my phone so I could provide it to law enforcement.
And that information was selected by you, correct?
Two particular text threads, yes.
Right. In other words, there was nobody else that was picking and choosing what to get off your phone. That was just you.
It was me, yes.
And the reason you did that, Mr. Higgins, is that you wanted to control and limit the amount of information that was pulled off your phone, right?
Objection.
Is that why you did it?
No, I did it because I wanted to provide it to law enforcement, Your Honor.
Okay, next question.
But you could have just provided your phone to law enforcement and let them image the entire thing, correct?
I guess that was an option, yes.
And you knew that was an option at the time. And you're a trained ATF agent.
What's the question?
You knew it was an option to just hand your phone over. Just pick it up and give it to them.
And there was also an option to provide it to them as well.
Right. But you chose the one that you got to select the information, not the one where they would get everything, correct?
Objection.
Sustained us to that form.
Did you actually go to the FBI computer forensics lab?
Yes. Let me correct that. I didn't go to the lab itself. I went to a kiosk, what they refer to as a kiosk on the first floor over at FBI.
Okay,
And all local PDs, law enforcement, have access to that.
And that's obviously,
It's an unrestricted area. You can be in there, as I understand it, unaccompanied if you're local law enforcement. It's on the first floor.
that is a federal facility, however.
Yes, it is.
Did you utilize any computer or any data extraction machinery, if you will? A computer or something to extract this data?
Well, it was a machine. I don't know what it's called.
Okay, fair enough. I'll use the word machine. I don't know what it's called either. So you hooked that phone up to a machine, correct?
Yes.
And that machine belonged to the FBI. It didn't belong to you, is that right?
That's correct.
So that was a federal resource, not for anything having to do with any official case that you were working. Isn't that right?
Objection.
So I need to see your notices. So I need to see.
That's a problem. Whoa. That's a big problem for Higgins. What's going to happen here? Come on. We're going to have, oh, yeah, I want to play this part. So Higgins has an attorney that's going to come in for a second, and I'll let you hear that exchange. I just got to get to it. They must have taken a break or something.
Offer of proof of a question he's about to ask your client, or a couple of questions he's about to ask your client. Doesn't make any sense to me that somebody has counsel and the counsel is not aware of a potential issue. So you'll hear the offer of proof. I'll let you speak to Mr. Higgins before this actually happens before the jury.
Could I just have him identify?
Yes, I was just going to ask you to identify yourself.
Sure, my name is William Connolly, spelled Connolly.
All right.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
The witness has indicated that he utilized federal resources for personal gain.
This is outside the presence of the jury, by the way. The jury stepped out, they brought in Higgins' lawyer, and this is a proffer.
The specifics of that testimony have been as follows. He indicated that he contacted Matt Kelch, a federal agent. He indicated that he utilized a federal facility. He called it an unsecure facility, but it's a federal facility notwithstanding, and that the two of them, he and Agent Kelch, utilized federal resources in the form of some kind of a machine, as the witness indicated, for his own personal gain so that he could, as a witness, in no official capacity, work in any official case, and in Matt Kelch's capacity as an individual rather than an agent, they both work together to download certain information from the witness's phone in anticipation of turning that highly selected, highly curated information over to law enforcement so that he could later ultimately destroy his phone, which this witness, in fact, did.
Okay, so it's not entirely, I disagree with you. I don't think it's reached that level. His testimony was that he went to a kiosk on the first floor where all local police departments can go. It's unrestricted. It's on the first floor. And we just got to the part about a machine in the kiosk when you mentioned an FBI resource. So what is your question? What questions do you intend to ask this witness now?
Whether he's aware that under 5 CFR 2635.702, it is a federal offense to use his public office, to use any public office for his own private gain or for the gain of persons or organizations with which you are associated personally. In other words, an FBI agent or an ATF agent cannot use federal resources for personal gain. The fact that he contacted an ATF agent, the fact that he utilized a facility that is owned by the federal government, run by the federal government, paid for by taxpayer dollars, and the fact that he used a machine that is owned by the federal government to download certain information for his own personal gain, that personal gain being, these are the curated texts that I'm going to turn over to law enforcement, that's a federal offense.
All right, so those questions are going to be asked. I don't know that there's been an objection to them. I'm not sure I'm going to let them in, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to speak privately with your client in the back room there. Can you do it in short order? Do you need
I
more
can
time?
do it in about 10 seconds.
Okay.
Sure.
All right.
Okay, I don't know if you can hear that. He said he thinks he can do it in about 10 seconds. The irony in that is that Higgins said you can't have a conversation in 22 seconds. So, but his attorney can advise him in 10 seconds, FYI.
If you feel the need.
So why don't you go back and talk to him? I'll stop bringing the jury. I'll getting the jury lined up to come back. Okay.
The jury's coming back in.
Your optimism, but it's going to take.
Mr. Jackson.
Understood. Mr. Higgins, you indicated that the phone was hooked up to some sort of machine at the FBI kiosk, correct?
Yes.
You're aware, sir, that under 5 CFR 2635.702, you may not use your public office for your own personal or private gain or for the gain of persons or organizations with which you are associated personally under pain of a federal offense, correct?
Objection. No, Your Honor.
Are you aware that under 5 CFR 2634.704, it's a felony to quote...
Objection, Your Honor, as to reading.
Go ahead and finish the question.
For an employee, an employee has a duty to preserve and conserve government property and shall not use such property or allow its use for other than authorized purposes. Were you aware of that federal regulation?
That objection sustained.
Sir, notwithstanding those regulations, you utilized the services of Matt Kelch as a friend and a colleague, but utilizing federal resources to pull information off your phone, correct?
Objection.
Sustained as to that form.
In fact, you were successful in getting information off your phone, which is the text that you turned over to the Commonwealth, correct?
Objection.
In that form, you're almost there, Mr. Jackson. That form was improper.
The information that was ultimately pulled off your phone was the information that you selected, and you and Matt Kelch worked together to get off your phone, correct?
Objection.
Is that correct?
No, Your Honor, if I could explain.
Sure.
He walked me through on how I could pull the text string with John O'Keefe and the defendant. He walked me through the process, how to use the machine.
And then you did that.
I did do that. That's
And that's
correct.
what you turned over to the police.
That's correct.
And any other information would still be on your phone, ending in 5421, correct?
Well, that information stayed on my phone. I just took those strings off and provided them to the Mass State Police.
So where's your phone?
I do not have that phone anymore.
You've destroyed that phone, haven't you?
No, I threw the phone away.
Well, that's destroying the phone, isn't it?
I had every right to do that.
I didn't ask you about your rights. I asked you what you did.
Objection.
Sustained.
You destroyed the phone by removing the SIM card. Correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you do that? Did you pull the SIM card out?
Objection.
Did you pull the SIM card out of your phone?
Your Honor, to the best of my recollection, if I did take the SIM card out, I would when I threw it away, if I was going to take it out, I would break it or cut it.
If I did it, if I was going to, I would do this. He's lying. This is what he did. He's trying to distance himself from the words by saying, if I was going to do it, this is how I would do it. This is exactly like O.J. Simpson's if I was going to kill Nicole Brown Simpson, this is how I would do it. This is a book.
But I did not wipe the phone. I did not take anything else off it. But if I was going to throw the phone away, that's what I would have done.
Okay.
You know, as an ATF agent with electronic data experience, when you pull the SIM card out and break it, and then throw the phone away and the SIM card away, you don't need to wipe the phone.
Objection.
Sustained. Mr. Jackson, that's it.
Your Honor,
One more question.
I can do this in 30 seconds, I think. you were aware that, that there was a court order that you not alter, delete, or destroy, or in any way manipulate your phone or the electronic data associated with it, correct?
Objection.
As to what date?
As of September 23rd, I'm sorry, September 30th, 2022.
Objection. I don't believe that's what the court order was. I think it's
To make a quick offer of proof, that's exactly what it was that you was notified.
Were you aware of that? Was that your understanding?
What's the question exactly? I'm sorry.
That's the question again.
Sure. Were you served with a copy of a notice on September 30th, 2022, that you not alter or destroy or manipulate anything on your phone on September 30th?
I was served an order. Yes, that's correct.
And isn't it true in another hearing, you explained that on September 29th, the day before you claimed you got that notice, you changed phone carriers and changed phone numbers
And I maintained the phone.
until
That's very curious because it's the same story that Brian Albert had when he got a new phone. It was just time to upgrade, though, in Brian Albert's case. It was just time to upgrade the new phone. You know, he had to get a new phone. So, um, but he doesn't have the old phone. He reset it or whatever. And now he's saying that he reset it. Both of them got rid of their phones, got new phones, new phone numbers. I don't know if he got a new phone number, but Albert did. They both got new phones right before they got a preservation order. So that's my question, is who is leaking information to them? They are obviously getting information because otherwise they would have had their, preservation order and they wouldn't have been able to dodge the questions like this. It's just unreal to me how ballsy these people are in trying to get away with not only taking the life of one of their supposed friends, but also framing his girlfriend. It's just so sick. Anyways,
you didn't. When you destroyed it a month later by pulling the SIM card out and throwing it away, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you do that in October? Did you destroy that phone?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you pull the SIM card out of your phone, Mr. Higgins?
Did you?
It's possible that I did. I believe that's how I've testified. Yes.
You testified
It's
at the
possible that if I took it out, that it was either cut or broken,
It's not just possible.
So that
and that would have been after the date the order was already denied.
Mr. Higgins, I have one question left. One question. Did you, Mr. Lowley's already standing. I haven't even started.
have a seat, Mr. Lally. Go ahead. Last question, Mr. Jackson.
Quiet, please. Quiet.
somebody
Mr.
laughed so
Higgins,
hard.
very simply, and then we're done. Did you remove the SIM card for that phone, drive onto a military base, throw the SIM card in one dumpster and the phone in a different dumpster?
That is not correct.
Did you testify that
Was your one question, Mr. Jackson? All right.
That's your one question, 10 questions later. All right, so that's the end of that day. Brian Higgins is going to come back for the next day. And whoops. Let me grab the link here. Copy, copy, copy. So this clip I call "Uh-oh, Higgins really steps in it." This is the next day.
indicated that he utilized
Oh,
federal
wait.
resources for personal gain? The specifics of that testimony have been as follows.
We just
He
watched
indicated he
that.
contacted
Whoops.
Matt Kelch,
That's what the
a
name
federal
of that
agent.
clip was. Hey,
indicated
stop.
That he utilized
Sorry. That was the name of the clip that we just watched. Sorry about that. I didn't tell you in between because it went from one clip right into the other. All right, so this next clip, did I do it right? No. Hold on.
utilized federal resources for personal gain.
Okay, perfect. So this is the next day, the following day. So this is day 18. Higgins was testifying for day 17 and day 18. This, which is the last day we've just had in court, which was this past Tuesday, and no court until Monday. So they have been kind of in a hiatus this week. They only had court on Tuesday, and it was a full day they went. Anyways, so for whatever reason, I think Alan Jackson had a prior something or other. I don't know if it was family oriented or if it was work related, but he had some other obligation and he would not be there on that Tuesday. So David Yannetti fills in on the second part of Higgins' cross. So let's start with that.
Sir, you
He comes in hot from the beginning, so Yannetti does.
proceed, Your Honor.
Yes.
Sir, you provided to investigators what you claim were the complete text exchanges between yourself and Karen Reed and yourself and John O'Keefe, correct?
What I provided was the complete. I let them know that it was a complete exchange between myself and the defendant, and I said that I may have had other text strings at other times with Mr. O'Keefe.
Sorry, this clip is called Factory Reset and Broken SIM Cards.
I'm going to proceed to ask you a series of questions which call for a yes or no answer. Can we agree that you'll answer yes or no to those questions?
If I can answer yes or no to the best of my ability, I will.
All right, I'm going to keep the question very simple, sir. Okay? You did not provide to investigators any other text messages between you and anyone else.
That's correct.
In September of 2022, you were served with a preservation order for your phone, were you not?
Yes.
After September of 2022, you never received anything in writing that canceled or lifted that preservation order, correct?
That's correct.
After September of 2022, you made the decision to dispose of your phone without consulting anybody about the decision to throw out your phone, correct?
Yes.
Before you threw the phone away, you did a factory reset of it, did you not?
No, I did not.
Well, you previously testified that you testified in another proceeding on June 1st, correct, of 2023?
Yes.
Prior to that June 1st testimony, you met with some people and gave a statement on May 5th of 2023, did you not?
I did meet with them. I don't know if that was the date.
Okay. It was prior to June, correct?
Yes.
All right. May 5th doesn't sound wildly inaccurate, does it?
No.
And when you met with those people on or about May 5th, we'll say, or whatever date it was prior to June 1st of 2023, you told them that you did a factory reset of your phone ending in 5421. Did you not?
I don't recall that. No, I don't recall making that statement.
You don't recall what you said about the factory reset during that interview, we'll call it, in May of 2023, correct?
That's correct.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Do that silently to yourself and look up at me when you're done. Factory reset of your phone?
That's not.
Does that refresh your memory about telling those people in May of 2023 that you did do a factory reset of your phone?
That's not accurate. I did not tell them that. And I also didn't tell them that I saved text with my father.
Again, another instance of the data's wrong, the reports are wrong, it's all wrong. Everything I'm telling you now, listen to me and believe me, but all the information that points in a different direction, don't listen to that. That's what this group keeps doing this whole trial, and it is so freaking frustrating.
All right, so your testimony is that they got it wrong, correct?
My testimony is I didn't make those statements.
Your testimony is that they got it wrong, yes or no?
Objection.
Sustained.
Well, in any case, you took the SIM card out of your phone, correct?
No, what I testified to was that it's.
Did you take the SIM card out of your phone, yes or no?
I don't know.
Did you testify that that's what you do when you get rid of phones, sir?
What I said was that might have been the extent of it if I was to have done that.
And you either cut up the SIM card or ripped it up, correct?
I believe what I testified to was
I'm
I
not
would
asking
have
you what you testified to. I'm asking you today, did you either cut up the SIM card or rip it up?
cut it up or broke it.
And you will agree with me that cutting up or breaking the SIM card destroys the SIM card, does it not?
The card itself, yes.
That would have been the purpose in terms of cutting it up or ripping it up, to destroy it, correct?
Well, so nobody else could use the phone.
Well, that was my next question.
In another phone.
But the purpose of cutting up or ripping up the SIM card is to destroy the SIM card, is it not?
Yes.
And you wanted to make sure that somebody couldn't put that SIM card in their phone and potentially access your data, correct?
No, that wouldn't be the reason why.
Okay. Well,
Then why destroy it?
we already talked about the fact that you testified under oath on June 1st of 2023, correct?
Yes.
And you were under oath when you were testifying on June 1st of 2023, correct?
Yes.
You swore to tell the truth.
Yes.
You raised your right hand.
That's correct.
And June of 2023, June 1st of 2023, was about a year ago, correct?
Yes.
It was about a year closer to your throwing your phone away, correct?
Yes.
And in that testimony that you gave in June 1st of 2023, did you say the following, quote, I made sure that somebody couldn't put it in their phone?
Yes, I did say that.
Wow.
In fact, by either cutting up or ripping up your SIM card, you also knew that that SIM card couldn't be put back in your phone either, correct?
Yeah, I believe that would be correct.
And you'll agree with me that you took that destroyed SIM card and put it in a trash bag, did you not?
I believe it went in a trash bag, yes.
Well, you used the passive voice. It went in a trash bag. Did it fly out of your hand unexpectedly into a trash bag, sir?
No, sir. It would have been disposed of with the phone.
No, I understand. But are you reluctant to say that you put it in a trash bag, sir?
Objection.
Can you answer that? Are you reluctant to say that?
No, Your Honor, I put it in a trash bag. Oh, with my
and
trash.
then you also took your phone, now without the SIM card, and you put that in the trash bag too, did you not?
Yes, sir.
Then you drove to a military base and you threw both the destroyed SIM card and the phone into a dumpster, did you not?
Well, I was cutting through the base, and I believe how I
Did you
testified
drive
was
to a military base, sir?
I was cutting through a base, yes.
Did you drive to it?
Yes, sir.
And then you put both the destroyed SIM card and the phone itself, which were in a trash bag, into a dumpster on that military base, did you not?
I believe that's what I did, yes.
And as you were driving away, you knew that that destroyed SIM card and the phone would be gone forever, correct?
Yes, I threw it away.
And before you drove away, you did not transfer anything from your old phone to the new phone, correct?
That's correct.
You lost all of your photos on that phone, did you not?
Whatever photos I had on there, I did, yes.
You lost all your videos on that phone, did you not?
To the extent if I had any.
You lost all of your other text messages besides the ones that you had with Karen Reed and John O'Keefe, correct?
That's correct.
And you knew that you did have text messages on that old phone with Kevin Albert.
He's a friend, most likely.
You also had text messages on your phone with Nicole Albert.
Most likely, yes.
And you had text messages on your phone with Brian Albert.
Yes.
It was important to you that no one see those text exchanges that you had with those three members of the Albert family.
Objection.
I'll let him have it.
No, sir, that's not true.
You took no steps to preserve those text messages, did you?
That's correct.
You did not ask your friend Matt Kelch, the agent, to help you extract those text messages, did you?
That's correct.
And when you went to that machine, you did not extract them yourself, did you?
He walked me through it. I did do the extraction.
You did not extract the three strands of text messages with Nicole Albert, Kevin Albert, and Brian Albert to preserve from that machine, did you not?
No, I did not extract those.
So the only place you knew they existed was on your old phone, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
The same phone that you put into a dumpster on a military base with a SIM card removed from the phone and destroyed, correct?
Well, I did throw the SIM card and the phone on the military base.
Right, and the SIM card was destroyed. You've already testified to that.
I said to the extent of if I did that, I would have done that.
And we're talking about the actual phone that would have had your text messages, again, with Brian, Nicole, and Kevin Albert, correct?
Yes, because the motion was denied.
Well, you've already testified, sir, earlier, that you never received anything in writing that either canceled or lifted the initial preservation order, correct?
That is correct.
You knew when you were throwing that phone and the destroyed SIM card in the dumpster that from that day forward, no one would ever be able to access the content of what you and Brian Albert had discussed by text messages on your old phone, correct?
Anybody.
I'm nothing further.
Mr. Lally?
Wow. Okay. So that was the rest of his cross-examination. We are going to skip past Lolly's boring recross or redirect, which is, there's no saving this. Okay, let's just be clear. There's no saving what Brian Higgins just testified to. So I'm going to skip ahead now to this clip that I call preservation order. So this is Recross. And Yannetti has a couple more questions for him.
I never said it was a prime motivator.
Was it a prime motivator?
No, what I testified to was that the phone number was what I was concerned about primarily.
Right.
Didn't have anything to do.
So the phone number, his excuse as to why he changed his number or got rid of his phone or whatever was because he said he was working on like a undercover case and the person found out his phone or something, like the perp found his phone number and contacted him. But yet that was like months before he destroyed it. So I don't buy that as an excuse. And as we know, the preservation order came in the September 30th and he destroyed his phone the day before. So that makes no sense unless he's just psychic.
To do with the phone.
Oh, you did not change your phone number on July 22nd, correct?
July of 2022? Is that what you mean?
The date that you received a call, supposedly, from a target of an investigation you were working on was July 22nd of which year?
So I believe it was July 25th of 2022. I was so concerned that I reported it to my supervisor.
Right, but you did not change your phone number after that for quite a while, correct?
I believe it was September.
Okay. So for those months, you kept the same phone number and kept the same phone, correct?
I did.
And September happened to be the month that you received the preservation order from this court, correct?
September 22, yes.
Right. Now, with regard to the text exchanges that you had with Karen Reed, you testified that you were embarrassed about them?
Well, I wasn't proud of them.
I think your word was embarrassed, correct?
I can agree to that. That's fair.
Well, you already testified to that, right?
I believe that
What,
might have
5 minutes ago?
Might have been a word I used, yes.
And you also explained that you would keep things like that to yourself, correct?
That could be something, yes.
However, you would also agree with me that while they were going on, you told your boss about that text exchange, correct?
Well, I told her about the kiss.
Do you deny telling your boss about the texting that you were doing with Karen Reed?
I don't know if I specifically recall that, no.
But you don't deny it, sir, correct?
It's possible that I told her about that. I'm not going to deny it.
All right. And in any case, those text exchanges were preserved. You preserved those before disposing of your phone, correct?
Correct.
And with regard to the other text exchanges that you did not preserve with the Alberts, including Brian Albert, are you familiar with the term consciousness of guilt, Mr. Higgins?
Senor.
The objection sustained.
Can I have a moment?
Yes.
Consciousness of guilt. Knowing that you have guilty conscience.
Agree with me that was September 29th. With regard to the date that you changed phone numbers on your phone, you would agree with me that was September 29th of 2022?
When I actually changed the phone number?
That's what I just asked.
Yes, I also got a new phone, yes.
Okay. September 29th of 2022, you changed your phone number and got a new phone. And then September 30th, the next day, you were served with the preservation order, correct?
I got the preservation order on the 30th. That's correct.
All right, Mr. Higgins, you are all set, sir.
Thank you.
And there you have it. That is the testimony of Brian Higgins, the highlights, anyways. I hope you guys enjoyed that. He's something else, right, guys? I mean, let me know what you think of him. I feel like he's the always in the friend zone, never getting hit on, and and it shows. He's not usually the guy that gets the girls, in my opinion, because he really doesn't know how to talk to them. And the way that he talked to her, I think, constantly like questioning her and being all needy, like needing to know where he stood with her. Like, no girl likes that. Just no. I don't know. Do you think Karen really liked him, or do you think she was messing with him? What do you think were her intentions by reaching out to Brian Higgins? I don't know. I'm torn on a few things. Maybe she was just at a moment in time where she was questioning her relationship and wanting to see what else was out there. And like she said, she wasn't married, so she was trying to see what other options there were because with John, it was a package deal with the kids. Not that she was complaining, but it was a difficult obstacle between her and John to get along. She loved those kids. You could tell that she loved those kids. She bought clothes for them. John would get mad that she would buy expensive clothes, and he would get mad, I guess, that she would take them to Dunkin' Donuts to get an iced coffee every now and then or something like that. He didn't want them to get accustomed to certain things, and so that was a big problem I think in their relationship was money and how she spent it on the kids. Apparently, I heard on Turtle Boy Live that Karen set up trust funds for those children. And this is the thanks she gets. On the 18th, they came in and testified against her. I mean, they didn't say anything too damning, in my opinion, but it's still crappy that I think the McCabe's, I really think Jen McCabe had a lot to do with this, was weaseling her way into the O'Keefe family and turning the O'Keefes against Karen, which I don't think was really hard to do. I don't think they liked her all that much anyways because she wasn't from their, I don't know, she was from a different side of town. I don't know. I just think a lot of people had some hate for Karen, which was unwarranted just because she was different and not necessarily different, but from not from Canton. She wasn't from Canton. She was the only one that wasn't from Canton, it seems. So, anyways, let me know what you guys think, especially about these text messages, because I don't know. I'm torn, I think, on what I think. I don't think it's great that she reached out to him, but at the same time, I also feel for her, and it made her seem more genuinely human to me because I relate to feelings, that she's having. So, or that she's, shared with Brian. and now the whole world, unfortunately. But Karen, if you're listening or if this ever gets you, just hang in there, girl. You are so strong and powerful and great and amazing, and you're going to get through this. So, and to all of you women out there who are watching, go women, women power. And men, we like you too. We like you. We like having you around. All right. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time. Please be sure to hit the like. I can't talk now. Please be sure to hit the like button on your way out, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Bye. Whoops. Why didn't that not work? Oh, man. I can't get my thing over here. Okay. Never mind. All right. I'm just going to have to stop abruptly. All right. Thank you guys so much. Take care. Bye now.